Hello everyone, Britton here, also known as Samoki Dude, and today I'm going to be doing a bit of a different video, and this is going to be a video mainly aimed at writers. So writer friends of mine, if you are interested in watching this video, or even responding to this video, or doing another thing, please feel free to do so. This is a kind of a tag, more of just like a kind of personal video I wanted to share with you guys. This is for writer friends of mine, so if you're a writer and you follow my channel, feel free to use this. But I am something of a writer myself. I'm working on a novel right now. If you couldn't tell, I've talked about it a little bit on my podcast with some people like Philip Chase, and I talked about it a little bit with Epic Tales. And I'm good at working it right now. But I thought for a while that I should do something I think that would be fun for writers. It's also my first kind of created tag, though it's kind of different because there's not like a lot of questions. It's just kind of, let me explain how it works. So I got the idea for doing this from watching an interview with Neil Gaiman a few years ago. Actually, not a few years ago, a long time ago. And he was talking about 3 books that influenced his life, 3 books that changed his life. And I've talked about it a little bit on some other platforms, like books that changed your life, but I thought this could make a fun tag, so I'm calling it Books That Made Me Want to Be a Writer tag. And again, this is aimed mostly at writers, and I thought about how I was going to do this. I'm like, am I going to do 10? Am I going to do 5? Am I going to do 3 like Gaiman originally did? I thought about it for a bit. I thought 10 maybe was a bit too much, so I decided to do 5. Now, I won't discriminate if you want to talk about comics, manga, whatever. Just things that inspired you to be a writer. I say books because, we're writers on here, and, it's BookTube I'm doing this on, so, feel free to use books as well. But if you also want to use comics or manga or whatever, feel free. I am not discriminating here. But today I'm going to be talking about 5 books that made me want to be a writer, that made me take the step, if you will, into being a writer. I have 3 books, 3 regular books, and 2 comics. So this is going to be fun. So yeah, 5 books. Again, if you want to use comics, feel free to, or if you want to talk about manga, feel free to as well. If that really inspired you to be a storyteller, again, feel free to use it. I'm not going to stop you. So yeah, let's get into this. My number 1 book is weird because I don't own a copy. I swore I did. I thought I did at one point. I thought I did. I have very clear memories of owning it. But I guess not. Maybe I borrowed it or something. But my first book that really made me want to be a writer was The Great Gatsby. Now, there were a lot of books I could have chosen for this list, and it was very tough to choose some of these books. I mean, there were a lot of books that really kind of pushed me to be a writer, like 1984, Animal Farm, Lolita, Heart of Darkness, Lord of the Rings. So many different books I could name. Coraline, even. So many books that really inspired me to become a writer. But the first one I'm going to talk about, kind of going on a tangent here, but the first one I'm going to talk about really is The Great Gatsby. I remember I was in 8th grade. I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to do. And I was sort of on a kick. I've mentioned this a few times. I was reading a lot of books that are considered classics. I don't know why. I just felt like it because... I watched a Spark Notes video, and I really liked the animations, and it made me want to seek out the books. So I ended up getting the books, I read them, and there were some that I enjoyed, there were some that I really didn't like. But I remember I read The Great Gatsby. I had always been kind of interested in storytelling. Like, I used to write little stories in my classrooms. I would get in trouble with my teachers a lot because some of those stories had like violent content in them. But yeah, I always liked writing, but I never really took it seriously. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. When you're 8th grade, you don't know what you're wanting to do with your life. And then one day I decided to pick up The Great Gatsby. I don't know why, but I remember when I read it, I was blown away by it. I thought, this book was, wow. I did not expect The Great Gatsby to be what it was. I thought it would be kind of stuffy, and it does give that impression for sure. I mean, it is about rich people, and well, nobody freaking likes rich people, so but the way it was written and the themes that it conveyed and the characters of the story, it really affected me. There's a sad quality of The Great Gatsby, and there's a depressive quality. There's a disillusion quality. There's this, we could have been better, and we're not doing it because, it's too hard to be better. And it really affected me. And it finally tore down all of my defenses. This was the novel that really made me want to be a writer. And it was really the novel that finally tore down all my defenses. And I basically said, all right, let's do this crazy thing where I'm going to start writing and people are going to like it. Hopefully people are going to like it. That's really quite, I don't want to be too presumptuous now. But yeah, Great Gatsby was a book that just affected me in such a way. And I think it's a book everyone should go read. It's not very long. It's about 181 pages. It's more like a novella, really, than a novel, but, whatever. Now, there is some controversies about if F. Scott Fitzgerald actually wrote it, but all I'll say about that is whoever wrote this book really knew what they were doing, and they really captured a feeling, really, if you wanna call it that. And I remember distinctly after reading The Great Gatsby when I was about 13, 14 years old, I remember thinking, I want to write something just like that one day. And that is still a goal for me. I would love to do something like The Great Gatsby. I don't know if my skill is that good, but it's definitely on there. And so Great Gatsby was the book that really is the first book I'll talk about that really made me want to be a writer. Now, the second one is kind of a cheat because it was really tough to pick a book from this author, but I've talked about him a lot. I haven't shut up about him. You all know who it probably is. It's Cormac McCarthy. I discovered him when I was 8 years old. I probably shouldn't have been so presumptuous, but I was a precocious kid. And I saw the movie poster of The Road for The Road, and it's the one with Viggo Mortensen standing there. He's all haggard, he looks sick, and he's in his little hoodie, and then there's the little kid standing next to him. And I was like, man, what is that? What is that about? I'm curious. And then I don't know if it was not too long after or a few years later, I picked up The Road. I read it. And I actually have it right here. I picked this up, I read it, and I was blown away by it. There's this sort of dreamlike quality in The Road that really isn't seen in a lot of novels. I mean, Cormac McCarthy writes in such a way, or he wrote in such a way, because he's sadly no longer with us. I did a video about that. He wrote in such a way where it feels otherworldly, and it almost feels like you're on another plane of existence. And The Road does this. Several of his other books do this. Like Child of God does it very well, even though that's one of my lesser favorite of his books. And one that does it most is probably Blood Meridian, which is his first blood-soaked take on the Western. I mean, this is a nasty, disgusting novel, but I really enjoyed it. I remember I read it, I was about 18 years old at the first time I read this. I already did a video on this exact book, so I'll link that down below. I did a discussion with my buddy Kyle. Blood Meridian was another book that really blew me away. It was one of those books kind of like Heart of Darkness, or even Great Gatsby that way, where it almost feels like you're in a dream. It almost feels like you're in this other plane. You're in another world, almost. I mean, this is more strange and fantastical than even some fantasy novels I've read, and that might rub some people the wrong way. But I'm telling you, once you read like Blood Meridian or The Road, you'll know. It'll feel like you're in a completely different place. And it's hard to describe, and I've tried to put it into words. I mean, I did a thing for Cormac McCarthy because he died. I've covered a couple of his books on my channel. And I don't think I could ever put it to words, but Cormac McCarthy is really a writer's writer. I think all writers should read him at some point. And just think about the words he used, and think about how much time he put into both of these books. I couldn't really choose between Blood Meridian or The Road. I also almost got No Country for Old Men, but that one's more like a mainstream thriller. Not that that's a bad thing or anything. It's still a great novel, and I actually just reread it recently. But yeah, I think but these books most definitely really. It was another one I'm like, I want to write something like these two books at some point. That's like a goal. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to that goal, but it is a goal nonetheless. So yeah, Cormac McCarthy. Another one, this was kind of hard because I did want to put a fantasy or science fiction novel on here. It was really tough. I chose between Lord of the Rings, of course, Ray Bradbury, one of his books. I was really tempted to choose. A couple others. I mean, there's more recent favorites like Perdido Street Station or Black Leopard Red Wolf, but those are just favorites. Those didn't really make me want to be a writer. But the book I decided to choose is one I also don't shut the hell up about, and it's my favorite fantasy novel of all time, and that is American Gods from Neil Gaiman. I love this book, if you couldn't tell already. I've talked about it a lot. I went on Matt's YouTube channel where I tried to be silly, and I explained why you should read this and why this is one of my favorite fantasy books of all. It is my favorite fantasy novel of all time so far. I love how Neil Gaiman can make mundane things feel magical. How he combines mythology and the real world, and just how he can show you this. My friend Kyle put it to kind of borrow from Clive Barker, The Great and Secret Show, as Clive Barker put it, as my buddy Kyle put it to me. I really liked how he put that. And Neil Gaiman really does that in American Gods. He peels back this mundane reality and showcases this stranger, weirder world that's underneath. And I really love how Neil Gaiman did that. Also, this novel is hilarious. There's a lot of great humorous scenes in this. So many great lines in this. Oh my god, the first line of this novel, I swear to god, if you don't get sucked in by the time you read this first line, I don't know what to tell you. Shadow had done 3 years in prison. He was big enough, and look, don't fuck with me enough, that his biggest problem was killing time. If you are not wanting to read more after hearing those lines, I don't know what to tell you, my friend. I can't help you. So yeah, that's on the novel part. So Cormac McCarthy, The Great Gatsby, and American Gods. Now to the comics. The first one I'm going to pull out before I pull out the real heavy hitter is The Walking Dead. I got the compendium here because I don't want to fucking get all the volumes. Now I know what some of you are probably thinking. The Walking Dead, it's not good. It's a soap opera. I don't fucking care. Okay, the Walking Dead is awesome. All right, and you should go read it. I read comics growing up. I read a lot of the superhero comics, of course, growing up. I read Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Batman. Actually, some of the first comics I read were the original Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, Fantastic Four issues, which are also pretty good. I enjoy a lot of those. A lot of fun issues in that run, and it really established Marvel into what it is today. But, I kind of thought, but by the time I started The Walking Dead, I had kind of grown, as much as I had loved superheroes, I had started to fear maybe that the comic book medium wasn't quite a place for me, because going from another podcast I did, I have to quote my friend Carlos here and say that I crave variety. I can't just do one genre. If I did one genre, I would just go insane after a while. But then I discovered this comic, another one I probably should not have been reading at the time I had read it, because I discovered it when I was 10 or 11, and I was reading this when I was 10 or 11 years old. And I'll admit, like, it does really dud out by the end, but just how long this series went and how good it was, like this arc, great. The, like, second compendium, pretty good. Third arc, great. You know, the Negan stuff, amazing. And then, you could tell Kirkman had kind of run out of ideas, and, you know, that was the end of that. But this comic introduced me to the world of independent, creator-owned comics. And I realized, when I picked this comic up, I realized, here's this guy whose profile picture, he has a skunk on his shoulder. Here's this guy, he's just standing there, and he's doing this. He's doing comics that aren't just superheroes. Now, he did do Invincible, which is awesome. If you love superheroes, you'll love Invincible. And Invincible is great. I do recommend Invincible as well. But The Walking Dead really showed to me that you could do any stories that you want in the comic book medium. And I love The Walking Dead, unashamedly. I'll admit that the ending of the comic it's good, but it just kind of comes out of nowhere, and you can tell that Kirkman had just run out of ideas, and it was just a big dud all around. But the first, like, couple years in, like, the Governor arc, the Negan stuff, all of it's very, very good storytelling, I think. It's very great, and the art is very good, too. I really love Charlie Adler's art. I think it's a lot better than Tony Moore. I like Tony Moore. I think he's a good artist, but his art is just too bouncy. Look at that. Looks like it's gonna jump off the freaking page and, like, eat you or something. It's not my favorite art style. I do think Adler's more grounded style. I think it fits the series of The Walking Dead a lot more. But yeah, no, I remember when it ended, and it just kind of shocked everybody, and that was it. That was the end of the thing. But yeah, Walking Dead was a comic that made me want to be a writer, and it really showed me that no, comics aren't just superheroes. You can do a lot more with comics, and you know, I can hear the derisive comments, but you know what? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the back talk. I'm tired of the disrespect that The Walking Dead gets. All right, read it. I do really think you all should read it. You don't have to like it. Just read it, and just have a go at it. That's all I ask. It's not that hard. The first couple of issues, at least the first couple of issues. You don't mind the Tony Moore art. It's super bouncy, and it doesn't feel right for the series. But just read the first couple of issues. Just do it, okay? Anyway, my Walking Dead rant aside, let me get a drink here. Sorry, I have a lot of strong opinions on The Walking Dead. Final one is another one I don't really shut up about, because I've talked about it a lot, and it's a comic I think everyone should read at least once. And it's a comic, it's more the author himself who I would say inspired me to become a writer, but I think this comic by itself really just blew me away, and that is it was tough, because I was going to pick either between this one or another one, which is a Batman comic that he wrote, which is my favorite Batman comic of all time. But the book I'm talking about is Watchmen, of course, by Alan Moore. Watchmen is a revelation. It is the culmination of so many superhero comics. It is the end-all, be-all of a lot of superhero comics. It really takes that Silver Age kind of corniness and sort of takes it seriously, and it's brilliant. It's a brilliant collaboration between Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, and you know, I feel sad that that people don't mention Dave Gibbons as much, because his artwork is just supreme. I mean, hold on, just look at that. Look at that. That is poetry right there. It's just like, it's so good. I mean, just that. Look at this. This is from issue 6. Rorschach right here, freaking maniac. And but really, why did this comic, out of all the other comics, it was either this or Batman the Killing Joke. Now, I don't own Batman the Killing Joke, of course, because I don't own a lot of my favorite books. It's really sad. But anyway, but why Watchmen? Because Watchmen showed me that you could really do anything you want with comics. I mean, there's so much detail in this. The panel layouts, stories within stories, the way that Dave Gibbons used the 9-panel grid. Just the way the storytelling prowess of both of these men, I think, should be talked about forever. And I'm not just saying that as a fanboy. I really do think that this is a great piece of comic book literature. I mean, it's really one of the best comics I have ever read. Or not written. I've ever read. But it inspired me to be a writer because it showed me that comics can really do anything. You can move backwards and forwards in time. You can show all these complex time. It's almost like it's like a film in that way, but it's not, because it's just these two guys. Not these two guys. These like 3 or 4 guys who, one of the guys writes the script, Alan Moore did. One of the guys does the pencils, Dave Gibbons, and one of the guys did the colors, John Higgins. These 3 guys made this. That's actually not a good example. Where's the Ozymandias one? Where's the Ozymandias scene? This right here. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. It's art. That is art right there. I'm just saying. It showed all that you could do in a comic. And there's so many, I would say that issues 4 and 6 of Watchmen are some of the best comics ever written. I mean, really. I'm not kidding. And I know not everyone will like Alan Moore Watchmen, and that's fine. You don't have to like Alan Moore, but if you're a comics fan, or if you want to be a comics writer or a comics creator in general, read Watchmen and think about all the decisions that these 3 guys made. All of the words that Alan Moore chose. All of the illustrations that Dave Gibbons did. And even the coloring choices. The freaking coloring choices in this. It's insane. It is insane the amount of detail that is in this comic. And it really inspired me to be a writer, not just of... I mean, I would love to write comics, but it's just not very viable right now. And also, doing comics is a very difficult thing. It's just, I'm telling you, it's a very hard thing to really get going. But yeah, Watchmen is definitely Alan Moore's magnum opus. I know he probably would summon a demon on me for saying this, but I think Alan Moore's Watchmen is really the pinnacle of a lot of superhero comics. Now, is it the end-all, be-all of superhero comics? I don't know about that, but it certainly is the superhero comic. But it also cuts through a lot of genres as well. It's just a great story as well. Just the storytelling in this by all of the men involved. It just consider all of the decisions that these 3 people made when you read this. It's a masterpiece. I try not to use that word a lot, but it truly is Alan Moore's crowning achievement as a comic book writer, even if he doesn't want to admit to that. But that really is about it for books and comics that made me a writer. I mean, I didn't have any manga that I had read, which is not a lot, admittedly, that really inspired me to go there and be a writer. But yeah, so that's kind of what I got for now. So other people I'm gonna tag in this. All right, let's see. Of course, my friend Jason Furman, because I just love harassing that guy. Christopher Navo, he's a good dude. I just had him on my show a few weeks back. He's a cool guy. Very knowledgeable. I know he's a writer. He's working on something right now. Joe Byrne, who I also had on my channel. He would probably also appreciate the comic references. I'm sorry, I thought my alarm was going off for some reason. It's coming from the other room, though. Is there anyone else I would like to choose? I would say Tori Talks, but I don't know if she'll ever watch this video. So if you're more close with Tori, and you want to put this video, you want to put a video like this out and tag her, feel free. I will you can just tag, if you're gonna do another video after this, just tag me in the video. I would appreciate that. But yeah, 5 books, or even comics, or a mixture of both. Again, not discriminating here. That made you want to be a writer. Now going back to if I can choose anyone else, that is who I got for right now. So I'm probably, actually, I'll tag Epic Tales, see if he wants to get in on this. And beyond that, that's about it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's probably going to be a bit long. I finally figured out how to get the Discord to work, so I'm going to link that down below. Please check it out. I'll link it down. You guys go check it out, and come talk to me. I'd love to hear from you guys. Also check me out on Twitter, some Okie Dude. Also check me out on Goodreads and Letterboxd, where I do reviews that are probably more coherent than the one I just did right now. And until next time, be safe.